The most exciting news of the century, the Hubble Telescope 2 is being launched next month, right? It's called the James Webb. It has a sensor 3 times bigger than the Hubble that's already out there already.
Right.
It costs £5 billion.
So it's Hubble Mark II, is it?
Yeah. And it'll be able to see life on other planets that we've never even been able to see before, and the edges of time, and the beginning of time itself. This is what they think it's going to do. What do you think about that?
So what's that got to do with the 50 to 250? Nikon Z mount lens.
Well, it's very similar.
Is it?
Yeah, because this goes quite far, like that.
Oh, of course, that's Hubble Mark III.
That's good, isn't it? So why do you need a 50 to 250, 4.5 to 6.3 lens?
DX lens.
DX.
Are you talking about on the Z50 or on any Z camera?
Well, that's the thing, isn't it? Because we've had this lens for a long time now, haven't we? We've both had it and used it recreationally.
Yeah.
And we wanted to spotlight it because we feel it gets neglected and quite...
Well, it's got this like kit lens label on it.
Is it actually value for money? Because it's cheap. Because you've got to think about the budget of these things. This is £230. I looked on a used website. The new wildlife lens 100-400 is £2,700. This is £230.
Because, and that range actually, because it's a DX lens, the equivalent full frame factor is 75 to 375. It's a huge range, isn't it?
Yeah, it's actually a huge range. And it starts at 4.5 to 6.3, but with a focal length and in daylight, let's see what we can do with this.
However,
what?
Is there a better option?
Is there a better
for
option?
your Z50? My argument is 24 to 200 Z mount.
Yes.
Because on a DX camera, APS-C crop sensor camera like the Z50, that's equivalent to 35 to 300. So is a 35 to 300 mil range more useful than 75 to 375? Yeah, I know it's probably double the price, but...
Is it worth the jump to get that lens?
Yeah.
And of course, that you can use on a full frame camera and you've got your full megapixel camera.
Yeah, whereas if you put that on a full frame camera, it puts it into DX mode.
It does. So on a Z7, it's 26 megapixels still.
Yeah, on a Z6 it's probably 15, 16 or something like that.
I think it's less than that. I think it's
less
near
than
11 megapixels. But on a Z50, it's still the full 26 megapixels still.
Yeah.
Is it actually any good? Is it worth the £230? Even just to drop in your bag when you're doing other things? Because it's so light and portable, that's one of the genuine things. And it's got VR. Yeah. Do we recommend, does this get the Russell and Lars seal of approval?
Yeah.
So on a Z6 or full frame body, the 50 to 250 is a 75 to 375 millimeter. Obviously, that's an incredible zoom, 375, and at 100% it still holds because of the Z7 capability. It's really sharp and detailed. So on the Z6 you won't be able to crop in as far. As you can see, the Z7 holds the image quality really well because of the megapixels. But the Z6 isn't struggling now in the daytime to crop in a good amount. And a quick look at the 24 to 200, because on a full frame body it is 24, and obviously you can see that's where the starting point is, quite a lot different. And on the Z7 of course you can crop in quite far to any point. So the 24 to 200 on a Nikon Z50 is a 36 to 300, so this is at 36, and that's quite a reasonable focal length to start with if you wanted to shoot wide and to telephoto. So on the Z50, to compare, because it's an ASP sensor DX and a DX lens, that crop is automatically about the same. So cropping in 100% on both of these, you can interestingly see how they translated the image. On the Z7 it's a different shape to the Z50. It's a lot more longer on the Z7 than the Z50, but both of them are really sharp. I mean, I think you'd struggle to see any differences in the quality here. So quickly looking at the 24 to 200 on the Z7, obviously that is a 200 on a full frame body. So cropping into maximum on both of them, On the 50-250 this is 100% and it looks really good, but you can't crop any further than that. I'm finding you can crop more on the 24-200. So I didn't use a tripod for the low light photography because I wanted to test the vibration reduction of the lens and the body combined, which should be really good, and it proved to be so. I mean, I shot this at 1/10 of a second, 6.3, and which means I could shoot as low as 4000 ISO, and this was a dark scene. And this is without cropping in, and it's a really nice image. So if you crop in to 100%, it's still really nice and clean. The detail there, the knob, everything. So shooting at 1/10, if the subject isn't moving, of course. So if it is moving, so I shot at 200 of a second at 25,600, the maximum the Z7 can do. And without cropping in, it does look a bit noisy, sure, but that can be corrected. It's only minor, especially in the background, but on the actual subject. And at 100%, sure, it is pixelated there. So this is using the Z6 on the 50-250, and I'm presuming I was shooting in a moving subject, so 250th of a second, maximum ISO 51,200. Without cropping in, okay, you can see it is pixelated, but it's not that bad. And even cropping in 100%, because it's the Z6, it doesn't have that, have to do the megapixels of the Z7, and it's not that bad. So this is the Z50 now. So again, I'm pretending I'm shooting something moving at 200 and maximum 51,200, and without cropping in, it's reasonable. And at 100%, well, you can see it is pixelated, but it's not that bad. But compared to the Z6 and Z7, it is. So this is the Z50 versus the Z6. As you can see, cropping in, the Nikon Z50, which is to be expected, I suppose, because it's a cheaper lens body. So you can see that the Z6 wins quite well here. Interestingly, comparing the Nikon Z50 using the 50-250 and the 24-200, I would say the noise is a bit better on the 24-200. It does have, well, it's a more expensive lens, and maybe can deal with the lower light better. Interestingly, I put the Nikon Z50 down to 120 if I couldn't seem to get a shot at 1/10. But 120 if it's a nice clean image at 1600 ISO and cropping in, it's really nice. And I was using the Z6 with the 24-200 as if I was shooting in low light with a moving subject at 200. And it's obviously a clean image without cropping in. Okay, so in previous videos we actually compared it to this legendary 70-200 2.8. Of course the 70-200 has a better shape, notice the shape of the circle. But overall the sharpness isn't that dissimilar. Obviously the 70-200 is shooting at f2.8 and then f4. So in another video we went to the zoo and I used the 50-250 on my Z7, and it was really effective actually. And here are some examples of Loz's for when he went on a wildlife safari. So here's some more examples that I've taken over the years. As it's so portable, it can just go in my pocket or my bag. When something comes up, you can just use it. It's like with the squirrel. When it comes to focusing, I find that it's often down to the body, not the lens. And with bird photography, also notice the depth of field is really nice because of the focal length.
Right, here we are again. You're looking nice and warm.
I'm flipping freezing. The sun's out but I'm freezing.
Yeah. So what did you think of the results?
The 50-250 for its price point is brilliant. I think it's true. I think you just don't get a bad Z mount lens, do you?
We recommend it because it gets our stamp of approval. Yeah, because it's the price point is £230. It's so light you can go in your pocket, in your bag when you don't particularly need it. You've got a 375 on a full frame body. It's good on the Z50 too. And you're right, the 24-200. on a Z50 and the full frame bodies is better than this lens in pretty much every way. The focal length range is really good, and on a full frame camera you can crop in a lot more because it's using the full sensor. It's a really nice build to it and everything. I think that deserves to be an S quality lens, really.
So I'm surprised it isn't. I mean, it is obviously 2 or 3 times more expensive than that, but I think the range on the Z50 or a crop sensor camera being about 35 to 300 is really useful. But obviously you put it on your Z6 or Z7, you've got the full benefit of a full frame lens, and also it's got vibration resistance built into it.
Reduction.
Reduction. It resists vibration as well as reducing it. It resists it.
Resist it. Resist the vibrations.
Him off again. Deary me. The vibration reduction resistance factor. Because the Z50 doesn't have stabilisation built into it. That's why the Z50's 2 kit lenses do. So it will still give you the ability on the Z50 to shoot at slow shutter speeds, which I think you did prove in low light, didn't you?
Yeah, I mean, I proved with both the lenses you can shoot. I was shooting handheld in low light 1/10, and we're getting some good results because of the body's capability and the focus ability of the bodies. So this has got VR as well, and they're really both really capable. It's really on a new era of photography here. I mean, sure, it's over twice the price, but if you can afford it, I would go for that lens as well. But yeah, so the Z50 in the menu it does say it has VR in it.
The Z50.
But
I think it's some sort of digital stabiliser. It's not proper stabilisation.
That's what you pointed out to me, and you were right. That
we did have a half an hour argument about this. Went for a coffee, Googled it, proved him wrong as usual.
Yeah. I'm sure I was right at some level. Well, I am.
See, he still won't let it go.
On the menu it says VR, so I think, oh, it's got VR, but it's not. It's like a digital representation of it, which probably doesn't do anything good.
So they both get the seal of approval then?
It does, yeah. I mean, if you've got any thoughts about this, I mean, maybe you've stayed away from this and were looking for a light, portable zoom lens, well, this is it.
Yeah.
It's really sharp. I mean, in the past, cheap lenses like this were never any good, but this one is. I think that's why we wanted to showcase it.
We've got anything else to argue about over a coffee?
Always got something to argue about.
Okay, right.